The best way to help people is by giving them the ability to help themselves. But this video is for educational purposes and informational purposes only. Vocational Rehabilitation Services, eligibility rules, wait lists, funding levels, and approved supports vary state by state and by individual case. Nothing in this video is legal, medical, financial, or employment advice. Always verify current information with your state's vocational rehabilitation agency, the Rehabilitation Services Administration, Social Security, or a qualified professional. Federal VR funding is administered through state agencies, and services are not identical everywhere. The general federal framework and program purpose described here are established through the U.S. Department of Education's Rehabilitation Services Administration. Now we got that out the way. So disabled does not mean denied. And that message matters because a lot of people hear the word disabled and subconsciously translate it into the end. Now that, my favorite song, The End of the Road by Boys to Men, the end of career hopes, the end of financial mobility, the end of productivity, the end of purpose, the end of being seen as an asset. But that is not automatically true. As a fellow disably, I'm always looking for ways to make life easier, more accessible, more dignified, and more efficient, not just for myself, but for other people too. I'm the kind of person who will absolutely apply pressure when the business is not ADA compliant, especially when they offer services that disabled people clearly need access to. Because access is not charity, access is not a bonus feature, access is a basic standard. And that mindset is why I wanted to make this video. Because beyond ramps, doors, and compliance, there is another kind of access people need to understand: access to opportunity. A lot of people know how to talk about disability in terms of pain, setbacks, and limitations, but fewer people know how to talk about disability in terms of strategy, resources, training, and pathways forward. That is where vocational rehabilitation comes in. Sometimes you might see it mentioned as VR, not virtual reality. This video is for the person who feels like life changed and now they do not know what lane they belong in anymore. It's for the person who got denied once and mentally closed the book. It is for the family member trying to help someone who has gone emotionally still. It is for the person who needs to hear that a different route is not the same thing as a dead end. Because sometimes what people call the dead end or the end is really just a forced reroute. And that's the agenda. That looked like Blueface if he went to rehab and got his face tabs removed. The reality most people ignore: there is hope after disability, but hope without information turns into frustration. One of the biggest problems in this country is not only that people need help, it is that many do not know where help exists, how it works, or what it can realistically do. And once confusion mixes with stress, pride, grief, depression, or exhaustion, opportunity can sit right in front of someone and still go untouched. That is why this topic matters so much. Disability is not some tiny niche issue affecting a handful of people. The CDC says more than 1 in 4 US adults have a disability. And recent CDC reporting has described that as over 70 million adults. That means disability is not rare. It is not fringe. It is part of everyday American life. 70 million people, that's more than a lot of countries throughout the world. So when people act like disability employment support is some side topic, they are already misunderstanding the size of the issue. There are people who can work but need retraining. There are people who can work but need adaptive equipment. People who may just need a different environment. People who might not be able to return to what they used to. People who want to work but do not know what they qualify for. People who need help turning "I can't do that anymore" into "here's what I can do now." That is the conversation we should be having more often. not empty motivation, not fake positivity, not pretending every challenge is easy. Real hope is not telling people everything will magically work out. Real hope is telling people there are systems, funding streams, programs, counselors, training routes, accommodations, and employment supports that may help you rebuild. What vocational rehabilitation actually is. Vocational rehabilitation, often called VR, is a public employment support system funded through federal and state partnership. At the federal level, the State Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program provides grants to states so they can operate statewide VR systems as part of the broader workforce development system. What does that mean in plain English? It means there is an actual program structure designed to help eligible people with disabilities prepare for, obtain, maintain, regain, or advance in employment. That can include things like career counseling, vocational assessment, job exploration, education support, training, assistive technology, transportation related help in some cases, job placement assistance, and services tied to keeping a person employed successfully. Ticket to Work also explains that people with disabilities may receive free employment related services, including vocational rehabilitation, job placement, and training through approved providers. In other words, this is not just a place where people hands you a pamphlet and wishes you luck. For the right applicant. Virtual, I'm about to say reality because of the abbreviation, virtual vocational rehabilitation can become a bridge between disability and employability. That matters because many people assume their only options are do exactly what they used to do, stay financially stuck, or give up and identify entirely with loss. But VR is built around the idea that a disability may change how you work, not necessarily whether you can build a future at all. It also is important to understand that VR is usually not meant to fund random desires with no career direction. The system is generally tied to an employment goal. So the stronger your case, the clearer your limitations, the better your documentation, and the more realistic your employment plan, the more seriously your file can be often be evaluated. That is why detail matters. This is one of the systems where being vague or unclear, rambling, not having your story together, not having your documents together, other people having your documents, that can cost you in situations like this. And in many situations, any situation where documentation can help you, if you have lack of documentation and then you don't even have a clear story, or you add a lot of unneeded details, that's why people sleep on education. But one of the things I learned in English was how to summarize, like, because as a younger me, I used to over explain and add too many details. It might require one paragraph and I would have 3 pages. And I over time learned how to trim down all of the unnecessary details. And a lot of people who didn't have the ability to access education for whatever reason, they tend to overshare a lot and they don't realize a lot of details are not needed in situations. The money nobody talks about. Now let's get to the part people should be talking about much more, the money. The federal government does not just vaguely support this area in theory, it actually funds it. The US Department of Education 2026 budget materials show the virtual vocational rehabilitation state grants program in the multi-billion-dollar range, with program materials presenting figures around the $4 billion level. So that's $4 billion. And the reason why I'm always big on people using stuff like this is is for the fact that they have to explain the $4 billion. And if y'all not using it, anything can happen to the $4 billion. And they can be saying they giving it, and there's no one around who ever tried it to be able to say, hey, that program really did work for me. Not to mention, this is people life we talking about. I know when I first experienced my injury, that was like one of the things that haunted me, like that I was never going to be able to take care of myself again, my leg. You know, most jobs need your leg. And even if it is a work from home job, you still have to move around at a certain point. You don't want to be stuck at your desk for 8 hours. Like, you know, you're gonna have to wear the pins or something. And but anyways, so having options for that, had I like once I learned about that, that kind of helped me not feel like the world was ending, especially being in your 30s and having a life altering injury. That's crazy because you still feel like you still have life left. That's why in other videos unrelated to this, I'm always telling people to take advantage of the present, whatever that is. And I understand that we may not like certain aspects of our life, but don't throw away what's present while you worried about what you chasing in the future or what's absent. Because, for example, people who may be stressed out about stuff that's outside of their household, but if you have a safe household where you have electricity, you have heating and cooling, your hot water heater work, you have access to food if you're hungry, appreciate that. Like you can still make a plan to fix what's missing, but stop allowing what's missing to take away from what's going on. That's like having a birthday party with a million people, and if one person don't show up, you bomb the whole night. Like I could give other examples, but you get the drift. That is a huge deal because when people hear government program, they assume either nothing is available or the money is symbolic. But vocational rehabilitation is one of those areas where federal dollars are very real. And here is the painful part: not all potentially helpful resources get maximized. Sometimes money is there, but awareness is not. Sometimes the services exist, but the public barely understands them. Sometimes people are technically eligible, but emotionally shut down. Sometimes the paperwork is long enough that people back away before they ever see what could have happened on the other side. And when programs are underused, they become easier to overlook politically and socially. Underuse does not just hurt the individual who missed out, it can also weaken the perceived urgency of the program over time. That is why this is bigger than one person getting training. This is about visibility, utilization, public value, program survival. And when people do not use what is available, the story becomes, I guess the service isn't needed that much. And that story can become dangerous. And we see it happening all of the time, like all of the time. But it also is a thing of participation. I don't know everyone in America, but from my part of the world, it looks like most people only get active when it comes to the presidential election, not realizing the state representatives are important because a lot of them actually put forth laws that get passed. And the local representatives are important as well because they are the people who have the funding for all of the different issues you have: potholes, street lights out, a failing police force, all of those things. So like if you find yourself feeling like you being let down by the people in government, make sure that you are participating and also do not fall for the party trick. That is the oldest trick in the book. Dear God, like we at the end of the day are all humans living on earth. And the fact that people allow labels to have us at war with other people from opposite labels. Meanwhile, all parties are suffering, and at no point all parties don't have the something, enter whatever word you choose, to put it aside and realize that it's deeper than that. It's deeper than who rich and who poor. It's deeper than a lot of things. And if you really pay attention to the way everything is going business wise, like instead of just getting mad at one politician or getting mad at one celebrity, look at the whole structure. Look at who put money in their pocket. Like it's a bit deeper story to all of this, but until then, we just gonna be indentured servants where people keep staying in debt, and which means that you're basically enslaved to the debtors because if you owe tens of thousands of dollars at any point, you default, those people could take your whole livelihood. Everything you own could be snatched from you. So, anyways, why people don't apply? Let's be honest about the reasons people avoid these systems, because sugarcoating the problem does not help. Some people do not apply because the application is long or they hate paperwork. Some don't apply because they do not understand the language and they feel ashamed. or they don't want to relive their limitations in writing, or they are already exhausted from dealing with doctors, insurance, employers, family, and etc. Some don't apply because they have internalized defeat. Most people I've ever met that refuse to use nonprofit resources but would rather borrow from other people and don't pay them back, or some people even went as far as to shoplift to get what they needed, even though they could have went to a pantry and got it for free. Like it's programming, and I have a video on programming, even though like I could do millions of videos on programming because not one video is ever going to touch even the surface. Programming is very serious. That's connected to emotions, that's connected to habits. And if you are already programmed to be someone who surrenders every time you fail, and it takes all of these different repeat issues and people begging you to get back up on your feet to finally get on your feet only to fail again, then I have something to tell you, my friend. And some people do not apply because they have gotten so used to surviving that they no longer recognize support when it appears. Or some people just program to get it from personal life people because they feel like they have an image to uphold, and they think about all of the public shame of if someone sees me at the food stamp office or if someone sees me in the pantry line. But at the end of the day, whoever these people are at the current moment, more than likely, unless they're your family and you one of those people that's a sucker for toxic family, bless your heart, you may never see these people again. So when you think about 10 years or 20 years from now in the past, depending on your age, all of the people who you was trying to impress, are they still around? All of the resources you use to impress those people, what did that's not, it's not worth anything to you now. Majority clothes and things, when you materialistic, you don't keep stuff long because you always have to keep up with the new stuff. Or you become a hoarder and you have a house where people falling over all types of stuff with tags still on it. And it's, in either way, you've basically wasted resources of your life trying to fit in a group of people who don't even know where they're going. Because if so many people are depressed, and if you see all of these famous people can't keep relationships, having legal issues, why are you still wasting your resources to fit in with these people? Like they're literally in hell. So, in order to break away from that, you first have to understand that if you want the life that you claim you want, you have to make it possible. Like, not as saying as far as if you want to be a millionaire, just go out there and be a millionaire, but you have to make it possible. Some people don't realize that certain things you do, certain people you're around, makes your goals impossible. If I wanted to start a lawn care business in the rainforest, that's going to be impossible because if it's raining, I'm never going to be able to get to the grass. So I'm going to have to use different tools. Or if I want to save money, but I'm hanging with a bunch of people who always borrow and beg and broke, you the stable friend, so they always coming to you. That means it is impossible for me to ever reach any money goals I ever thought I was going to reach, because at the end of the day, these people smell money. And a lot of people, you don't even have to tell them anything. Some of them, that's why you got to watch who you're on the phone with when you're in public. Some people be listening to your background and counting your pockets. So that's what I mean when I say about the impossible goal. You have to make your goals possible to happen and figure out what the roadblocks are. Make sure you're not the roadblock. Always start with yourself first, because once you figure out what you're doing wrong in your life, you're gonna know what everybody else is doing wrong in your life. It's gonna hit like a crossword puzzle after you then cross so many out to where the rest of the crosswords are easy to catch. That's how it is. And maybe some things you find out about yourself might be shocking to you, but the sooner you can get through it and get understanding, because it's not really a get over anything, but understand and seek help if you need it from real people, not none of these people online that'll lead you astray, because apparently y'all have therapists out here that's not even licensed telling people with depression that they are low vibrational individuals. So be very careful who you seek solitude from. That's why if you can build self solitude, perfect, but be careful, please. And a person can live in scarcity so long that opportunity starts to feel suspicious. They get used to stress that anything requiring patience, faith, or processes starts to feel like a setup for disappointment. So they avoid the application, the call, the interview, the follow up, and then later say nothing was out there. Yep, sounds like my parents. Sometimes there were truly barriers. Sometimes services were delayed. Sometimes staff were overloaded. Sometimes the process was frustrating, but in many cases, the first barrier was emotional, not bureaucratic. And that truth is uncomfortable, but necessary. Well, I mean, when you have people who were environmentally programmed to be in repeat cycles of struggling and repeat cycles of bleeding out money that they worked hard for and sweat for. Some people rob and steal for it. Some people scam for it. You know, people do whatever. But however you did it, you used your energy to get it. So regardless of if it's ethical or unethical, that's between you and whoever you believe in the law. But overall, you still put in effort to get it, and you just gave it away to someone who didn't even have to work for it. Just because they happen to own a designer brand, or just because they happen to be worn by someone that you don't even know. Half of these celebrities don't even have good hygiene in person, for real, for real. Like if y'all notice when their mouth be open wide, they teeth anyways. So yeah. And the one application and quit problem. One of the most common self-sabotaging patterns is what I call the one application and quit mindset. A person applies once. Maybe the form was incomplete. Maybe the documentation was weak. Maybe they misunderstood a question. Maybe the case needed more medical detail. Maybe they got discouraged by how long it took. Maybe they did not hear back when they expected to. Maybe they received a denial or delay, and then they concluded, well, I tried. No, you attempted once. Those are not always the same thing. A lot of systems, especially government systems, are not built to reward casual effort. They often require persistence, follow up, documentation, clarification, and willingness to keep moving through friction. Baby, word to the IRS. Them people, Lord, I've been talking to them for 2 years about a mistake they made. Put me in the wrong state and make it seem like if I didn't file taxes, because I didn't live there. Genius. But, anyways, that should not be interpreted as me defending every inefficiency. It is simply reality. It's not me defending it because I'm currently experiencing it. Like I just said with the IRS, and I have to have patience because it's some grands on the line. And I mean, I could easily just give up. They had already taken it years ago, but no, you're not about to rob me. That should not be interpreted. Okay, I said that already. The person who says I feel one thing and gave up is often treating a major life changing process with the same energy people use to abandon a shopping cart online. But this is bigger than that. If the end goal is a real career shift, funded training, adaptive support, or long term independence, then a person has to decide whether they want relief badly enough to tolerate process, because paperwork can be irritating, poverty can be irritating, stagnation can be irritating, dependence, regret. Choose your difficult, choose your fighter. And real stories and missed opportunities. I have seen people miss life changing opportunities, not because opportunity was absent, but because something inside them was switched off. I have seen the unemployed person with low overhead and a golden chance to stack money, learn a trade, or prepare for the future and sit still. I have seen talented people whose gifts were obvious to everyone except themselves. People whose bodies were clearly warning them that the life they were living was unsustainable, but they stayed in the same lane because familiarity can feel safer than transformation. I have seen workers remain in low level positions while free or deeply subsidized advancement opportunities sat right there in front of them. And that hurts to watch because some people genuinely need a chance. Others are on the break. Others are in grief. Others are depressed or confused or overwhelmed. And yes, some people simply do not want more, even if more is possible. That is why discernment matters. Not every stuck person is the same kind of stuck. Some people need information, encouragement, accountability, treatment, rest, a push, a wake up call, and some need to admit they are choosing comfort over growth. We have to learn the difference because if you misread the situation, you will waste years trying to drag someone toward a life they have not yet decided they want. Not to mention, for me personally, I used to regret my younger years, even though I still was making progress. I just didn't make the progress that I wanted to make the exact way I wanted. So I wasn't even giving my own self credit that progress was still being made, which further fueled any feelings of failure. And for people who may feel like they have depression or self diagnosing themselves with depression, you definitely need to seek some type of treatment. Some people believe in spiritual treatment. Some people believe whatever it can get you out of that loop, because what people do not realize about depression, it never goes away until you address it and you tame it yourself. Like it's like you taming the beast. If you don't tame that beast, it's gonna go in the woods and come back out like Jeepers Creepers when you least expect it, when life is going good. Because some people think that they could buy their way out of depression, because some people say money will solve all their problems. If you're depressed, money cannot solve all your problems, because the solution to a lot of emotional and mental roadblocks is work. You can't pay for the work. You can't pay somebody else to do the work for you. You have to legit come to a real resolution within your mind and your heart about all of these different things. Because depending on depression, I don't know how different forms of it work, but a lot of the times is negative thoughts about yourself. Sometimes you hear the voices of people like your parents telling you that you a failure and all of these different things. And so it's deeper than that. It's not something that you could just patch up with a haircut or with a wig with baby hairs on there. You really need to get down to it, because the longer you let it linger in your life, it adapts to your life and it'll destroy you in different ways. You may have done certain things when you were a teenager that was a sign of your depression, and when you get older, you looking out for that exact behavior, but then it shows up as something else. It may show up as you doing things. You may be a person who cherishes your body. Your depression may be show up in the way of you destroying your body through eating or through giving it away to people or to putting substances in there or through doing crazy stuff. So trust me, you see anyone who follows, I don't, but anyone who follows any of those huge streamers and all of these different trending people right now, y'all are watching depression in real life. If y'all watch Adrian Bronner stuff, you're seeing depression join forces with addiction. You're seeing it. Y'all are seeing it with people. So there we go. Stories and missed opportunities. This is where vocational rehabilitation can become life-changing in a very practical way. Training costs money, certifications, specialized schooling, books, exams, technology, equipment, transportation, accommodations can cost money. For books, this is unrelated to this video, but don't forget about Libby, the app connected to libraries. You probably need a library card for it. And Hoopla, you can get audiobooks, Kindle type books, streaming services, music, all of that for free. It's paid for by the government because it's connected to the library. So for people who are paying for Kindle, you might not need that anymore. Most of the books I look up on there, they have it. Even some of the books I already own, I looked it up just to see, like, hey, could I have saved money on this? And they had it, which I didn't regret it, because I mean, it is what it is. I don't mind buying books. I'll buy a book over it. Baby, I'll buy books. Barnes and Nobles ain't seen me yet. A person might otherwise pay thousands out of pocket for CDL training, CNA training, IT certifications, bookkeeping, trade school tuition, college coursework, adaptive software, screen readers, ergonomic tools, work-related equipment, interpreters or communication support in certain contexts, assistive technology. Now, not every service is approved in every case, and not every training path is covered just because someone wants it. This still depends on eligibility, plan approval, state rules, and whether the expense is tied to the employment objective. But even with those limits, the potential savings can be enormous. For someone with a real plan, that program can remove financial obstacles that would have otherwise delayed their next chapter by years. I did the Charleston White eye again. Let me see. Look, I'm Charleston White. Let me stop. This is one reason I get frustrated when people dismiss these programs without learning them. Some folks are sitting under a financial ceiling they could potentially punch through with support that is literally designed for situations like theirs. Job paths by disability types. Oh, that was a double slide. That's why. This was the slide for that one. I knew I wasn't tripping. Now, this section is important because people often think about work too narrowly. When someone develops a disability or experiences a major change in functioning, they often compare their future only to the exact kind of work they used to do. That comparison can become mentally paralyzing. No pun. Like I definitely was doing that. Not to mention having follow-up appointments after I'm released from months and being in the emergency room. You have people in the waiting area while I'm waiting for medical transportation. And you could guess what kind of people. Oh, what happened to you? Oh, you got shot? No, it was crushed. Oh, you about to get paid. And it's like, dude, I'm up here having flashbacks of the actual accident because when you experience something like that, I don't know how many people have experienced that exact accident like I did, but you will see that accident again for every day for the rest of your life. You never stop having those flashbacks at all. Well, especially at least for me. I just already was a kooky person, like a little crazy, like fun crazy, but crazy nonetheless. So I'm able to handle it a little bit better than people, but it's still with my ass. So again, mental health is real, people. And it's just funny that that's the first thing people think to say to a complete stranger, which is crazy. The better question is not always, can I do what I used to do? Sometimes the better question is, given my current body, mind, energy, and limitations, what kind of work environment gives me the best chance to succeed? For someone with mobility limitations, that may point towards remote roles, administrative work, project coordination, dispatching, customer support, scheduling, data entry, bookkeeping, quality assurance, or information technology related positions. Information technology is all over right now. When I looked up the top 10 paying yearly salaries in the country, seven of them, the first seven, one through seven, was technology jobs. For someone dealing with chronic pain or fatigue, success may depend less on raw talent and more on flexibility, reduced commute burden, pacing, lower physical strain, and work that can be structured around fluctuating capacity. Remote writing, virtual assistants, editing, online support, analytics, accounting support, and certain tech roles may be more realistic than physically demanding jobs. For someone with hearing impairment, there may be strong possibilities in visual or technical fields such as graphic design, drafting, software development, manufacturing, welding, machining, digital production, lab work, or other roles where communication can be structured effectively and accommodations can be implemented. Don't forget too, Goodwill hires people with disabilities, and most Goodwills, I don't know about nationwide, but all of the ones I seen in Houston, H-Town, hold it down, man, hold up. Or New Orleans, yeah, baby, what's them? They typically have job search capabilities. Matter of fact, while I'm sitting in front of a computer that has internet access, I could just go to their website and see how it looks right now. The Goodwill. Even though I won't go too deep into them, I really don't rock with their thrifting practices, but the career support, if they even if they burning down wood, if they have a well somewhere, I'm still coming get the water because it's free. So let me show you this. Share screen. I don't know if I made it international yet to for people to just be listening without a screen, but if so, I am currently sharing Goodwill. Well, not right now. I have to switch this off first. And now we're sharing Goodwill. Career support. Get free one-on-one job assistance and ongoing support from Goodwill to help you find and grow in a career. Find a job, explore Goodwill careers that combine purpose and growth across our stores, donation centers, and corporate roles. Career resources, use free resources to improve your resume. So for my people who paying people to do resumes. Now, granted, if that's someone you know, pay them, because I've done thousands of resumes and was not paid anything, and those people either got jobs and didn't keep them, or they did not even apply for jobs. So be mindful. If you're gonna be a giver, realize that there is no such thing as just giving with no intention. If your intention is understanding that you release it and whatever the person do is whatever, that's still intention. For me, I didn't have intention. So in some cases, I started building up resentment towards people. But I felt guilty about the resentment because it's like I didn't know where it was coming from. But I mean, I guess because I forgot I was human. So yes, when you're doing things for people, be very careful with that. Let's see, Google AI training. Is it free? Because if it don't, if you charging, baby, I'm not about to pay Goodwill for no AI training. Now, if it's free, we besties and all of that. And shout out to you. And yay, they doing stuff for the community. But if Goodwill charge you for that, I'll block them. With support from Google.org, Goodwill offers the Google AI learning track at no cost to you for a limited time. Oh, it's free. See, I didn't drag these people from the window to the wall all the way down to the Kaya Asylum. Down. Learn how to use AI tools. Well, now let's see what else. Digital skills training, Goodwill's digital career accelerator. Okay, Goodwill, maybe they're making up for them crazy prices on them thrifted items being close to new prices, which is like, if you gonna go thrifting, why would you buy something used that's 50 cents less than the original? Or some things they accidentally selling more than what it's cost in the store, because they'll look at the original price and the store may have that particular item on sale because of its age. So, you know, at this point, I wouldn't be shocked if Goodwill became a pawn shop. The heart of our mission. When you volunteer with Goodwill, you'll do more than give back. So that also, I pulled up the volunteer part too, in case they have people who may not necessarily have an income requirement and just want a purpose, because my money chasing youngins of all ages forget that even if you get all of the money, you still going to need a purpose. Like, there is no rich person publicly that sits at home all day doing nothing. Even streamers are doing something. They're consciously doing something because they have to entertain the stream. So you still need a purpose. That's why it's dangerous to be so money oriented that you forget the purpose in the process. You forget who you are in the process. You stop building emotional resilience, and you still have emotional capabilities of a teenager. So things in life still make you shut down, and people can get you out your emotions, and you can lash out and it be justified because they should have never told me that, and they should have never did this. When in actuality, if a person can use your emotions to get you out of character, your life will always be in danger. Even if you feel safe, your life will always be in danger, because all it takes is one time, just one time, to do something you can't take back, for somebody to do something to you that you can't take back, to lose an opportunity that you needed. When people at work, they ego come to work with them. You letting people at work who pick with you get you out your pocket to where you're the one disturbing the peace now and you lose your job. Or you're letting someone, maybe like for me, I knew that people would stare at me for my leg or whatever, so I stopped caring. Sometimes I like, from people being so childlike minded, like, and there's so many Arrested Developed people, every now and then I play mind games, and it is because of them initiating contact. If you're staring at me, I'm going to do something to fuck your head up, because you shouldn't be staring at me. Which they don't be staring at me for my leg now, they be staring at me for my legs with an S. Rehabilitation took away the stress. But so yeah, don't let people get you out of character, and figure out how is it possible that they are getting you out of character. And sometimes people are programmed to be big bad, beat on my chest. Yeah, I ain't gonna never let nobody play with me. Oh, I wish they would have said that to me. I would have did this, this, and this. And what would your life have turned out afterward? The people who do all of that, they don't get praised, they don't get a throne, they don't get a safe house to come home to when they go to jail, or when you die and you go to hell, they're not going to have a VIP section waiting for you. But anyways, so for someone with vision impairment, assistive technology can open doors in counseling, advocacy, teaching, accessibility testing, public service roles, training, customer support, and other knowledge-based positions depending on the person's skills and support needs. For neurodivergent, wait, why they got neurodivergent? How I get in here? For neurodivergent, the right fit often depends on reducing chaotic environments. I'm not neurodivergent. Aligning with, if I am, I ain't been diagnosed, but who cares? It's too late anyway. Aligning with interest, intensity, minimizing socially draining demands where appropriate. I needed that. They should have gave me neurodivergent, ADA compliant amenities when they decided where I was going to be born at. Because and using strength in pattern recognition, creativity, detail, systems thinking, coding, design, engineering, writing, or specialized technical work. For individuals with mental health conditions, the conversation has to be handled carefully and realistically. Environment matters, predictability matters, management culture matters, and don't be afraid to sue them. Sue them, sue them. Baby, if you have mental health conditions and them people at work playing with you, whatever your job name is, take out that company name and put your name in front of it. If it's Tiffany and Co, it's gonna be Brittany and Tiffany and Co. If it's Brandon Builders, it's gonna be Joshua Builders, if that's your name. Baby, I have a video I want to do on that, but I need to think if I'm gonna break it up or if I'm gonna just go all in on one. Workload design matters. Some people can thrive in structured remote roles, peer support, creative work, nonprofits, research assistants, technical jobs, other positions where the environment does not constantly inflame symptoms. And another thing too, especially if it's a manager playing with you, sue her wig off or sue the dentures out his mouth. Or if it's one of them flashy managers, sue the materialistic items out of their house. The point is this: disability does not create one universal work profile. The right job is not simply about what exists. It is about the intersection of ability, support, accommodation, training, stamina, environment, and dignity. That is why individualized planning matters so much. Alternatives if vocational rehabilitation isn't your path. Now, let's say VR is not the right fit, or maybe you are not eligible, or maybe your state is moving slowly, or maybe the pathway they approve is not aligned with what you're trying to do. I just showed the goodwill. That's a bonus. I ain't even have that in the script to do that, as far as, because I didn't know. So y'all just learned something with me. That's why I always tell y'all, and I probably ain't never said this on the video, but that's why I always tell y'all, always explore websites, because you never know what you find. Especially if you have the time to do it. Like if you find yourself doom scrolling and you cannot find nothing, use that as the escape to start looking at things that can build your life up. And also, not even just build your life up on the work aspect, start finding new ways to relax. Like, we don't always have to be on the internet to learn everything and be a super genius and all of this other crazy stuff and read every astronomy article if that's not what you're interested in. Find things that you may be interested in. Reconnect with old interests that other people probably took you away from. Maybe you had a hobby, but you was running with these different people who wanted to club every night. So it was either fit in and club every night or be lame and learn a piano or something. So find new ways to relax. Find new ways to debrief your body. You know, maybe if you have extra change, find things to get extra skin off your feet. That can make it uncomfortable in your shoes. Start clipping your toenails and your fingernails, no matter what your gender is, because bacteria, and also toenails, baby. If you don't clip your toenails, do you realize how many people have to be amputees because of feet infections? Not from many different things, especially if you haven't kept up with your health for years and you know you have diabetes in your family. Dear God, please take care of your feet, because if you have diabetes in your family and you look like your family members and you don't be going to the doctor, baby, you infections can result in limbs being taken when you diabetic. So please, Big Mama from Soul Food did not have to lose her leg in vain. If you learn from that, and that does not mean stop. It means pivot. There are other avenues worth exploring: state workforce centers, nonprofit job training organizations, community colleges, apprenticeship programs, union pathways, local local workforce grants, disability led career organizations, nonprofit technology access programs, employer training initiatives, and Social Security's Ticket to Work network for eligible beneficiaries. Ticket to Work is officially described as free and voluntary, and it connects beneficiaries with employment services and support aimed at financial independence. There are also lower cost or free learning routes of outside of public systems, certificate programs, online platforms, library-based learning access, workforce scholarships, and employer sponsorship upskilling. Also, too, check into apprenticeships. If it's something that doesn't interact with your whatever the disability is, there are apprenticeships. There are some companies where people can come on entry level and be a plumber's apprentice or an electrician's apprentice. And those types of fields, that's generational wealth right there. If you play your cards right with the skill of plumbing, electricity, landscaping, anything related to the land or property or things that buildings need, that is you tapping on generational wealth if you play your cards right. Not to mention you meet so many other people in that field, and people who have a passion for what they do love sharing their knowledge with people. That's the difference between the people who may be an electrician or a plumber, who one of those ranky dank shade tree take people money and gatekeep and all of that other stuff. The real ones with the real skill, they don't mind sharing it. No, there may just be no route in the exact farm. Sometimes the next move is not quitting, it is rerouting, stacking smaller wins, choosing a training path that is less glamorous but more realistic. It is building income while continuing rehabilitation. It is learning to separate ego from strategy. And also, if you get to a point where you feel like you can't get a win, start having small wins that you know you could do. Do things that you know is an easy win just to get your confidence up, just to get your repetition up of starting and completing something until you can work your way up. Like how they say the snowball method for debt, where it's the sometimes some people do largest first or largest APY first. Well, with goals, pick whatever goal you can do that you can achieve so you can show yourself you still here, you still got it. It's just you got thrown off track. You know, a train off track still have all its parts, unless it's a wreck. But a train off track still have all its parts. All it need is a track, and then it could just go. The psychology of staying stuck. A lot of people think being stuck is mainly about money. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's about psychology. Even when a program exists, when support exists, when a route exists, the human mind still has to cooperate. The mind can be difficult. That is why you can have a whole group of people rooting for a person to let go of an addiction or get out of a certain situation, and the person still fall. Some people are so used to disappointment that they emotionally protect themselves by assuming everything will fail. That way, if they never try, they may never have to feel let down again. Some people are grieving the version of themselves they used to be. And as long as they are mentally staring backward, they cannot fully engage the version of themselves that still has a future. Some people mistake passivity for acceptance, fear for realism, emotional shutdown for peace. They also mistake comfort for love. A lot of these connections that are unhealthy, the people who do the passive aggression, the people that you've caught talking about you to other people you've had to forgive for betrayal. Those people are not loving people to you. Y'all just are comfortable with each other's dynamic and each other's life. And then some people manipulate popularity to make a person feel, if you lose me as a friend, oh, you ain't gonna have no friends, and that's why you ain't no friends and all this other stuff. So yeah, emotional comfort and love is not the same thing. Some people are comfortable. That's like relationships. What people think just because they boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, married, whatever, that that means that they're gonna be together forever. And a lot of the times the relationship will die, or even with jobs. Your connection with your job will die, but you so comfortable that it's easier to just stay and have questions and have, all types of things happening versus venturing out and taking your life back. And it's not something to feel ashamed about because you learned it from society. Society taught you. It's common. That's really the majority. I'll battle that. I rarely say things on majority. I purposely say some when I'm referring to groups or situations, but majority of people are living comfort over love lives, and they using the word love and its comfort. Like what my family like that. Like we still family, we love each other. No, we don't. When you look at the material and the actions between individuals, it's a lot of hate there. And when you step away from them situations, you will save your own life and your own peace. Word to me. Because letting people lie to you about love and that's still this and that's still that will have you down and out with your resources, because those kinds of people will snatch whatever resources you have, because really that's all you order them at the end of the day. As much as we lie to ourselves and make excuses, because being in that situation, I know how it is to make excuses for people. You try to see every good thing they do. They could do 1,000 negative things a day, but you praising that one thing they do. Oh yeah, they a good person. Oh, they smiled. They said thank you when the lady handed them a napkin. Like, get out of that comfort. Comfort is destruction. Because once a person start building identity around being permanently overlooked, permanently underestimated, permanently unsupported, broken, opportunity starts to feel like a threat to the story they have been telling themselves. Why? Because if opportunity is real, then responsibility returns. And responsibility can feel terrifying when you have been emotionally parked for a long time. So, yes, systems matter. Yes, policy matters. Yes, funding matters, but also mindset matters. Not fake motivation, not performative positivity. Word to 90% of the internet. A real hard internal decision to stop bowing to the lie that your life is over because your path changed. You can't make them fly. This section is for the helpers, the family members, the friends, the siblings, the spouses, the people who send links, make calls, search programs, try to breathe hope into someone who has gone dim. You can put a bird in a nest. You cannot make it fly. That does not mean stop caring. It means understand your limits. And I know why the cage bird sing, because it's trying to outdo me. Some people need support, some people need time, some people need repeated reminders, therapy before they can act on opportunity, a better environment. Some people are not ready no matter how much sense the opportunity makes to you. This is where many helpers burn out. They see the opening clearly, they see the waste clearly, the chance clearly, and they cannot understand why the person they love will not move. But free will is real. That is one of the hardest truths in life. You can love someone, explain something perfectly, highlight the value, reduce the risk, and even offer practical help. And they may still not choose motion. That is not always because they're lazy. Sometimes they're wounded, ashamed, overwhelmed, scared of succeeding after years of failing, so used to collapse that building feels foreign. And yes, sometimes they're not ready. So help where you can, guide where you can, inform where you can, but do not destroy yourself trying to drag a grown mind into readiness. Not to mention, you need to evaluate your relationship with that person, because when a person is incapable of self love, which self abandonment, you can't have self love with self abandonment, in my opinion. I'm not a therapist, so maybe somebody might, know more, but I just haven't seen it. I'm talking about what I see. That's why people think I'm a therapist in real life, because I've noticed so much and I've applied it here that my information mirrors people who studied psychology. I just don't have medical terms for the things. But when you have people around you who don't love themselves, at some point, if they ain't already did it, they're going to start chipping away at your life. So you got to be very careful with that. And then the resentment really going to hit you, because not only are they attacking you, are taken from your life, but they have the nerve to do that when you was the one trying to lift they musty ass up off the ground. So be very careful, people. Why unused funding hurts everyone. This part matters far beyond the individual. When programs that are designed to help disabled people are underused, ignored, or misunderstood, or poorly promoted, the consequences do not stop with one missed opportunity. Underuse can weaken urgency. Weaken urgency can weaken advocacy. Weakening advocacy can weaken visibility, and reduced visibility can make it easier for these resources to be deprioritized. The RSA continues to issue performance, guidance, grant awards, and program materials for state vocational rehabilitation system, which shows the system is active and still being administered at the federal level. But active does not automatically mean protected in public consciousness. Programs survive better when people know they matter, and people know they matter when they are seen changing lives. So when communities do not use workforce centers, disability employment supports, libraries, training resources, and rehabilitation programs, they are not just leaving help unused in the present, they may also be weakening the future case for why those supports deserve attention. This is why awareness matters, why application matters, follow through matters. If people truly need these resources, then usage is part of advocacy. Word to healthcare advocates. Keep going. Call to action. Use it before you lose it. So here is the heart of this message. It's a big old heart. An hour again. I would just call this 1 hour of power or something. Psych. I'm not giving it a name. That'll be too social media. If you're disabled, recovering, adapting, limited, grieving, rerouting, or simply trying to figure out what is next, do not assume there is nothing available for you. Check, research, call, apply. Don't forget about 211. I mention that every video, and if I don't mention it, it's in the description of every video. Document thoroughly, ask questions, take the process seriously. And if you were denied once, that is not automatically the end of the story. It may mean your file needs more detail. It may mean you need better documentation. It may mean you need a realistic employment objective. It may mean you need to go back better prepared. Do not let one frustrating experience become your permanent conclusion. And if you are watching for someone else, encourage them, but also understand the difference between opening a door and carrying a person through it. Most of all, remember this: disabled does not mean denied. It does not mean useless, purposeless, economically finished, or that your future has to shrink to the size of your setback. Your strategy has to change. Your pride has to bend. Your timeline looks different. You may need support you never expected to need, but different is not dead. Delayed is not denied, and rerouted is not ruined. Use the resources, learn the system, push through the process, build the next version of your life with what is still possible, because there is a difference between being limited and being finished. And a lot of people have confused the two for far too long. Drum roll, it's over. Thank you.